when Damian Lillard went from the Portland Trailblazers, he finally got out of that dumpster fire and went to another small market in Milwaukee. Milwaukee had to give up Jrue Holiday, eventually to Portland, who then flipped him to Boston. Sean, I think everybody, consensus take, Bucks, Celtics, best two teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Do you agree?
I'd say it's Bucks, yes. Celtics, I'd lean yes, but they're definitely Celtics are definitely top 4 without a doubt. Top 3 more than likely. Top 2, I'd say it's close. I'm just not sure who I'd place at number 2, just because my NBA knowledge, with all the moves this offseason, just feels a little scattered right now. But the Celtics are up in that top 2, top 3 for certain. The Bucks definitely and Lillard, I loved his loyalty to Portland, but for everything that he did, he is one of the few guys where it's I would bend on my own rule of athlete loyalty. It's yeah, he deserved a shot elsewhere, and he got it. He's with Giannis now, and they should hopefully be able to win. The only problem is, did you give up too much depth? And that's going to be the big question. It's loaded. You got Middleton, you got Giannis, you got Lillard, among others. But the depth you'll have to find a way to replenish that over time. And it's not going to be easy to do, especially with the new CBA, from what I can kind of remember and piece together, because it's been a while since I've read over an NBA CBA, but it's going to be harder to build a team. But if the stars stay healthy and the key role players that they do still have are still able to be there, I mean, the Bucks should hopefully be able to not be a first round or second round exit as early as they were last year. And I'm going to just jump the gun right here. You wanted to talk about the Cavs if they need to make a blockbuster move. No, I don't think they do. The Cavaliers are just fine where they are for the moment. Now, this could change as the season goes on. I think we're going to see a far different Evan Mobley in his 3rd year. Mobley is going to make a jump. He's added at least 7 pounds of muscle, according to Evan Drammel and some other reporters that were at Cavs Media Day. Mobley is a guy that I think I've said this before. It's either this year or next year that he's really going to make a leap. He's going to be a leap towards closer to superstar, if not at superstar. You'll have Garland, you'll have Mitchell, and you'll finally have Mobley right up there. So that makes me a lot more comfortable knowing that Mobley's now got a couple years on his belt. He's had some NBA training. He's been able to fill out that frame a little bit more. He's not a fully grown man just yet, but I feel a lot more confident knowing that you have that unicorn in Mobley, who's been improving. And I think we talked last year, somewhat around the time where he was struggling during the season. If I and correct me if I'm wrong, but he got better after that point and he improved. I'm not saying that this team is perfect. It's not without its flaws, but I'd say the Cavs are up there in that top 3 or top 4. I'm not saying they're number 1. They are not there yet. But my hope is if Mobley makes that jump, even if he makes a higher jump than I thought he would this year, and I thought it would be more of next year, you were in a much better position. And then you have to decide, maybe not at the trade deadline this year, but next summer, what do you do with Jared Allen? Because I love Jared Allen. I think he's a good glue guy, especially a good rebounder, and can still get double digits in terms of scoring. But Mobley, Mitchell, Garland, those are your big 3 with Allen as a complementary big 4 piece. Let's not get them mixed up with Golden State when they had Durant. Let's not go there. That's not what I'm saying. But definitely, I think the Cavaliers are in a better position, especially if that 7 pounds of muscle and we start seeing Mobley really start to be able to push around some guys a little bit more. You are going to have a much different Cavs team to deal with, especially if that talent has continued to evolve over the offseason.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Cavs with you because I brought on a few guests over the summer and I proposed this trade, and so you may have heard it, you may have not. You're not gonna like it based on the answer you
If
just
you
gave me.
if
Was
I'm
it?
not
Was it?
gonna
Was no,
like
no,
it,
no!
you know,
Don't
what?
interrupt me. Let me just give you my whole thought process on it, okay?
All right, I'm gonna
I'm
mute
gonna,
up then.
I'm gonna take you through everything. So it is April. It's the first round series against the Knicks. The Cavs are getting absolutely bullied by Mitchell Robinson and Opie Toppin, and they're losing a series in 5 games against a team that, I'm sorry, was not better than the Cavaliers. And Donovan Mitchell flat out sucked for games 3, 4, and 5 in that series, and the Cavs were not very good in that series at all. So I'm laying in bed that night, the night of game 5, that Wednesday night when the Cavs have got away. I'm sitting there thinking about the team. Obviously, this is before any free agency moves, is before any of the draft moves. I'm sitting there going, everybody wants to trade Jared Allen, but you're not going to get that much value for Allen. And I still believe this, by the way, even with Mobley putting on 7 pounds of muscle, I don't think Mobley's body is necessarily built to play the 5 in the NBA. I think he's a Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, perfect style power forward in today's game. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I like Mobley at the 4. I still like Jared Allen, regardless of what he said about, the lights were too big for him. That bothered me a little bit. But I still think when he's in there, the Cavs are a very good defensive team. So we know going in, the Cavs' biggest problem is the wing at the small forward. And it dawned on me, the best trade you're going to get is, and this is where you're going to hate me, the one to move is Garland. The one to move is Garland. To me, you can move Mitchell to the 1. You could have slotted LeVert at the 2. And this is the only real trade I could come up with that I think makes sense for both sides. You call the Los Angeles Clippers and you tell them, because obviously they need a point guard, we will give you Darius Garland. You basically have the choice. Do you want to give us Kawhi Leonard or do you want to give us Paul George? And they decide, and that's your trade. So you would have Mitchell, LeVert, either George or Kawhi. And I know both of them have injury history. But when they are healthy, which you wouldn't need them to play all 82 games, because you would still have Mitchell. And again, we have this Bates kid, and assuming they'd still be able to sign Max Strus, you have a little bit more depth there. You have Mitchell, you have LeVert, you have one of those two, with Mobley at the 4 developing, becoming your number 2 guy potentially, and then Jared Allen at the 5 at the back line of that defense. That was my proposal, and I'll add to it one more thing. I say that because even though the Cavs got bullied on the boards, I started to look at it and I started to think the Garland-Mitchell issue to me may still be what the Garland-Sexton issue was, which is you can't have 2 6'1" small guards on the same court at the same time to win a championship. That, by the way, don't play great defense.
And Lillard, right?
Correct.
I mean, honestly, I think Leonard is too much of a distraction, but if you told me you could get me Paul George, I honestly could find a way to maybe get on board with that. Maybe a little reluctantly at first, but you might have actually, like with Paul George, that might make some sense. Mitchell, George, Mobley, maybe Allen and Strus, and then have Bates hopefully develop into the talent that people thought he could have been when he was one of the top recruits out of high school not too long ago. I mean, but even just those first 5 minus Bates I mentioned, I mean, you might have been able to talk me into like a Garland George swap. I'm not kidding you when I say that. Like
that's
Leonard,
I
feel like Leonard is the one
I was crazy, and then when I explained, what's it, Kawhi Leonard's off the wall too. Like I understand it.
It's not. It's just like I love Leonard's talent, but he just seems like he's a guy. It's like I would not trust my life to re-sign that dude because you couldn't even keep him in Toronto. He was already dead set on going to a warm weather market.
I know.
Paul George, I think, is more willing and more amenable to do something like re-sign in a cold weather city. So that's where it's like, yeah, I mean, if you told me like just Garland and Paul George, yeah, I mean, would it be a tough pill to swallow? Yeah, it would be, but that would be a move that I could get on board with that one. But because of what we know about Kawhi Leonard, and I just don't know if I could do Leonard. The talent's there, but regardless of injury, I just feel like Leonard would be more of a distraction than a help to the Cavaliers.
Do you agree with me? Because I still believe it, even though he's put on 7 pounds of muscle. I don't think Mobley's body is built to play center in the NBA.
I mean, as long as you have Allen playing center, that's fine. But yeah, I think right now, and Mobley could, as I said, I don't think Mobley's done yet, but I think at least him at the 4, that makes plenty of sense right now. Because he is a unicorn. We'll see how he develops, but like, I don't maybe he'll play the 5 more as he gets older, but I don't know how it'll go. But like he's still young. He's only 21, 22 years old. Like at most. Like he's still a kid. I mean, he's younger than both of us.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley is younger than both of us,
Yes.
which a few years ago was crazy to think. And
Insane
now
to
there's
think about it.
guys
Yep.
like because now there's guys who are like Major League Baseball veterans and free agents who are, getting $300 million contracts who are our age, or even
Yeah.
I'd say like I think I might be a little bit older than you, who are like closer to my age. And I'm thinking like, if only I had that natural talent, like, and I hope my brother doesn't see this. I'm gonna give my brother a little bit of something here. He was the more natural athlete in our family, my younger brother, and he played a really good time with soccer. But if he had fallen in love with baseball like I had, he could switch hit, he could switch pitch. He was quick,
Which pitch?
not as quick,
Wow.
not like one arm was more control, one arm was more speed in terms of velo for a while. But like if he had fallen in love with the game instead of quitting after 1 year, like when he was a very little kid, I think he could have been a better player than I ever could have been. I think he could have played college. I'm not sure if it would have been Division 1, but he could have played college and done something. I had to work really hard to be, a good athlete. I had natural speed. Thank you, Mom, by the way. But overall, like he was the better athlete. And if he could have trained like he did with soccer, I mean, my brother, I mean, I would have, I don't know if he would have been able to make it to, to the show, but I think I mean, he would have at least had a shot at college, and who knows from there, because sometimes all you need is that extra push, extra motivation. You see what guys like Jose Ramirez and guys like Ramirez is, a big time success story, but you know what I mean? Like those kinds of guys who are relentless hard workers, like the guys that you don't expect.
Okay, so I
By
said
the way,
about
I'm sorry to my brother for pumping you up like that, but it's just like I gotta give you your proper kudos, man.
okay, so I said when Phoenix made the deal to go acquire Bradley Beal, I don't know about the fit. I mean, Beal and Booker to me are the same player. Durant is
Yeah.
obviously great when he's healthy, but all three of
Mhm.
them are injured. And by the way, I got a little pushback on this. I'm probably going to get major pushback from you potentially too. I have taken Kevin Durant out of my superstar tier. He can't stay
Mhm.
healthy. He can't stay healthy. And what has he done since Golden State? He hasn't been to a Western Conference final. He got swept in Brooklyn. Then he decided to quit out of Brooklyn. He's unreliable. And now you're going with two injured, very good players in Booker and Beal.
Yeah.
But as much as we love
I
Chris
mean,
Paul,
Booker, I wouldn't
yes,
put into that injured category necessarily, if you know what I mean.
well,
But
Booker's been injured
yeah.
too throughout his career, and so is Chris Paul. But I just felt like they have lost
Chris Paul ain't
leadership.
Phoenix. Chris Paul ain't Phoenix anymore. He's with Golden State.
No, I know that, but I'm saying without Chris, they've lost leadership. You swap
That
basically
is
Bradley
true.
Beal for CP3. You have lost leadership. You have lost toughness. Devin Booker now, to me, has to become the leader on that team. We'll see if he can do it, but I'm not bought in on Phoenix.
I mean, yeah, it's fair to doubt Phoenix, and I'm not going to disagree with you on Durant. I mean, he's close to superstar tier, but it's a fair argument because he has just been unreliably just missing too many games the last couple of years. Not because of load management, but just because of just injuries.
And I've made
And
the
that
same argument about Kawhi Leonard. He's not in that
Kawhi
category
Leonard,
either.
yeah, Kawhi Leonard. That's also why I feel like Kawhi Leonard, like that's why I also placed, like when we were talking a few moments ago, I placed Paul George also over him. I just feel like George would be the more consistent of the two between him and Leonard. But obviously, I think I would take Durant a little bit more over George if
Oh, yeah.
you assume health is all good and well.
So, last NBA question for you. I didn't believe in Denver all last year until they
Shame on
obviously
you.
ended up winning the championship. There were some points, and I was saying this even though I think Jamal Murray is the most underrated player in basketball. There were nights Jamal Murray was better than Nikola Jokic on that court, and I'm sorry, you can argue that with me till your death. Jamal Murray won Game 2 and Game 3 of that Western Conference run for the Nuggets. They don't win the championship without Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic had to prove it to me. I've never seen him win a championship. I've never seen him do it on that stage before. He finally did it. The one thing Denver has, And one thing that Miami had, and the one thing that we're now starting to see in the NBA, you have your superstar, right? The Nikola Jokic, and in the playoffs on some occasions, your superstar Jimmy Butler. You have your star Jamal Murray, Bam Adebayo. Your very good third role player, whoever that may be, whether it's Aaron Gordon, a Tyler Hero, for Milwaukee, a Chris Middleton.
I still feel like Middleton's more that star type, but on the lower end of it.
Okay, and I could make that argument. I hear that. The rest of your team, then, what was Miami last year, and what was Denver as well? Very good bench guys that knew their role. 3-and-D guys, veterans, guys that just played well in the scheme and made big shots.
And not just that, the coaches were part of it too. The coaches were, executed the culture well, executed the game plans well, and Spoelstra obviously came up short, but I mean, overall, shame on you for discounting Denver. I mean, they like, I can understand why people would have, but that also irked me when I saw, what was it, last year, just the comments of just them basically being just harder to write about or whatever it was. That
I thought
if you remember vaguely what I'm talking
Denver.
about, but
I thought Golden State was better than Denver.
Lakers, no, I didn't think they were.
Phoenix was better than Denver.
Phoenix, I could agree.
I thought all these teams were better than Denver. By the way, the Lakers played them the best out of every team. They played them top all 4 games. They just couldn't close any of the 4 games. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think Denver has a chance to repeat. I'm not ready to unveil my NBA predictions. It's more because of the West. East, I think I have a pretty good strangle on. The West, I just have no idea.
It's kind of like with you and me with the AFC versus the NFC, just because of the teams you root for. We both know like one conference better than the other. So I get you where you're going there.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't. It's like I like Denver, but it's like, can I trust the health of Anthony Davis? No. Can I trust the health of Phoenix? No. Golden State's getting up there in age, but you never know with Golden State.
The thing I'm wondering about here is there going to be a team in the next 5 seasons, this one included, that could win back-to-back titles? That's the curious thing, because I don't know if we're going to get one.
Today's NBA, I think there's a good chance Denver could do it this year. I will say that, just because I think it's going to take. I think Milwaukee's going to be very good. Do I see a scenario where it takes them a year or 2 to get to that ring? Yes, I do. They don't have to win the championship in year 1. You can make an argument they have to make it to the finals, but I don't think they have to win the championship year 1.
Yeah. Can we just talk about, just for a quick second, I'm just mentioning this briefly, how the least became the East again. I mean, at least like the West just feels like it's underwhelming at times.
The top of it, but I mean, for me, it's Boston, Philly, Cleveland, Milwaukee. And then, people are trying to talk about the Knicks and the Pacers.
What about Philly?
I just said Philly. Philly,
okay,
Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee. And Miami's in there too. So that's 5 teams. West, to me, I feel like is Sacramento, Denver, Lakers, Phoenix, and probably Clippers if they're healthy. And you got Memphis in there too. So, and by
Memphis
the way,
with John Morant is a different animal.
Yeah,
like Dallas is a wild
see. And I was just about to say Dallas a wild card. We don't know what Luka and Kyrie are. So this narrative to me that the West is like not as good as the East, I don't think it's true.
It's not like that. It's just more so like the East is finally back into more of a parity balance.
Yeah, no, this is for sure the most balanced NBA we've had in a long time. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.